It is salsa making day. I am sharing my salsa recipe with you today. It is my absolute favorite. My husband swears by it and he doesn't want to eat any other salsa now. I'm also going to be sharing how I can it with my steam canner, which is not water bath. It uses steam. And I think it's way faster and easier, to be honest. So let's talk about the different kinds of tomatoes that you can grow when it comes to what you want to do with them. So this is an Amish, whoa, these are Amish paste tomatoes. And Amish paste tomatoes are really great for canning because they have less water content. They have less seeds and there's just more meat. And so they're just amazing for canning and they get huge as compared to Roma tomatoes. He's wanting to show you all the tomatoes. Roma tomatoes are great because they are prolific. They have a lower water content and more meat of the tomato. So they're really great for canning. They're more prolific, but they tend to be a little smaller. And then the last, as my son is showing you, is a beefsteak type tomato. And these are great slicers. They're great for fresh eating. Not as great for canning, though you can absolutely use them for canning. They just have a little more water content and more seeds and stuff like that. I have these tomatoes fresh. I have some inside and then I have some that I froze. Between all those, I think we're gonna get a pretty good batch of salsa. My goal is to someday be able to grow absolutely everything fresh produce wise that goes in my salsa. And I've gotten really close this year. I think the only thing fresh that I'm not gonna be able to add to my salsa is cilantro, which the slugs ate. I have used these little peppers these are jigsaw peppers from Baker Creek Heirloom Seed. They are spicy. They're really nice, but they are so tiny that I feel like it takes so many of these and I have to like chop them and it's just kind of a pain. I'm probably gonna look for a little bit bigger spicy peppers. The first thing I'm gonna focus on is getting the right amount of tomatoes we need. We need 10 cups of peeled and drained tomatoes. We're gonna be draining out as much juice as we can for the tomatoes. I do not like watery salsas. I want one that's nice and thick. And so that's the first thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna walk you through it. I take the top off the tomato and then I'm gonna cut it in half. And that's all I'm gonna do. If you want, you can take out a little bit of that hard core. I'm gonna place it on a baking tray face down, like that. Set your oven to broil high. So I have my full sheet of tomatoes. They're facing down, the halves. And I'm gonna place these in the oven on the broil setting for about 3 to 4 minutes. The tomato prep part takes the longest just because it takes so many tomatoes because you're just draining so much of the juice out of it. We need 10 cups, so I mean, it's a lot. It's really hard for me to say how many tomatoes that is or how many pounds that is because each tomato is so different. So if you have a bunch of Amish paste tomatoes, you're gonna need less tomatoes. But if you have a bunch of beefsteak or the ones that have more water content, then you're gonna need more of those. So I can't really give you an answer except that it's a lot of tomatoes. See how these look, how the skins are just peeling right off? Beautiful. As you can see, there's some water down kind of in there. I didn't put any water in here. That's just the juice from the tomatoes. So always make sure you use a lipped pan so that you don't get juice all over your oven. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of gently take the skins off of these. You can save these skins and dehydrate them to make like a powder. Because these are still hot, I'm gonna take them off and I'm gonna put them in a bowl to let them cool. And then I like to hand chop things because I just want to make sure I have thick enough chunks. So I went ahead and put the tomatoes in a colander. They are still whole at this point. I'm gonna wait to let them cool just a little bit longer before I chop them up. But I'm gonna let them start draining already so that we can kind of speed up the draining process. This is my first time ever freezing tomatoes. I haven't ever done this before, but I think it's a really good idea because oftentimes you don't have enough fresh tomatoes to do a batch of salsa. And then you have other tomatoes that are going to go bad, but maybe you don't have quite enough. So by being able to freeze tomatoes, you're able to save some and then do a batch of whatever you're doing canning wise. But for me, it's salsa when you're ready. I've been told you just run these under hot water and the skins peel off. Let's see if that happens. As you see, I just chopped them off, took out the core. Oh yeah, look at that. It's peeling right off. Maybe not quite as easily, but hey, look at that, not bad. I am super impressed with how well that worked. I am definitely going to be doing the frozen tomatoes in the future. What I am curious about though, because I haven't used frozen tomatoes in my cooking yet, I'm curious if it will change the texture, or as these thaw, if they won't get all the liquid out as much as the other ones will. So we'll just have to see how it turns out. I know some people who just put their tomatoes in a food processor and blend it and it just becomes more of a puree. I don't like that. I do like some chunks, and so I take the time to cut my tomatoes into little cubes. Now, obviously, if you don't want to take this time, you can certainly put it in the food processor. It will go a lot faster. I'm going to just chop a bunch of these, and then when I'm done, I'm going to put them in the strainer, and we're going to let them sit for half an hour straining to get all those juices out. So I made a decision because these tomatoes are frozen. I'm nervous that if I just cut them up and place them in the colander, they're gonna thaw, but maybe not quite enough to get all the juice out. And then once I cook it and can it, suddenly there's gonna be a bunch of juice, and I just don't want that. So I'm gonna throw these in the oven for just a few minutes to kind of thaw them out, and then they'll finish draining in the strainer. All right, so I have the tomatoes draining in this colander. You can speed up this process if you wanna get all this juice out by just kind of always like stirring and kind of pressing, watch, kind of pressing along the side. See that juice coming out there? So you can do a little bit of stirring to kind of help this process along. I'm gonna take a break and let this drain for at least half an hour, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the rest. The longest part of this salsa making process is complete. The tomatoes are done draining. I'll show you what they look like in a minute. And now we're gonna move on to just blending up a bunch of stuff and adding it all together into a big pot. And let me show you what we do. My tomatoes have been sitting for longer than half an hour, even though I said half an hour, only because I had to put Liam to bed. And so, and of course he wasn't tired, so it took forever. Anyway, but you can see they are nice and thick, and there is just a little bit of juice, but I'm not too worried. Most of the juice is out of it. And so I'm just gonna set this aside for now while I process all of the onions and the poblano peppers, and I'll show you how we do that. I really like poblano peppers. They have a wonderful flavor, and I haven't always done this, but my favorite way to have them is roasted, and so we're gonna roast these today. I have the oven set to broil, and I'm just gonna place these on here. You can see I accidentally cut that one off, but I'm gonna place these on here completely whole, and we're just gonna roast them. All right, so next we're gonna chop up some onion. We need 3 cups of that, so I'm just gonna have to just estimate and then measure once it's chopped. Woo, strong. Check out these poblanos. Ooh, nice. I'm gonna flip them over. A little roast on the other side for 1 more minute. Now let's work on the poblano peppers, and at the same time I'm going to process in here the hot peppers together. So these are the poblano peppers. The recipe calls for 1 1/3 cup. I'm pretty fast and loose with this one because I love the taste of this. So I'm going to aim for like around 2 cups. I might not even use all this. My husband likes spicy salsa, so I try my best to make it spicy, and every year it's kind of hit and miss if I get it spicy enough. He's fine with it mild too, but this year I'm really going to try to up the spice level for him. Okay, now it's time to add the tomatoes, and we're going to add a bunch of seasonings and cilantro. Any closer, that's what I have left over. You know what, I'm just gonna add it. Nice. This is a perfect consistency. You don't see a bunch of water. It's not super liquidy, and it will get so when I add the vinegar and such. So but yeah, this is perfect. Also, really the only crucial things that have to be the exact measurements are the things that are important for canning or for the density of it. So for instance, the tomatoes is really important to get as close to 10 cups as possible. And then we're going to be adding vinegar, tomato paste, and tomato sauce. And all those are the acidity that is really important for the canning process to make sure that we don't get an issue with botulism. So those things you cannot change. When it comes to things like how many jalapeños or how much cilantro or even the seasonings, you can do some kind of playing around with that, even the amount of sugar. I've been able to cut down the sugar quite a bit because we use apple cider vinegar, which is a little bit sweeter than regular vinegar. I'm going to turn this on and start heating it up. I'm going to taste test this. I want to make sure the heat level's good, and if I want to adjust any spices, now's the time to do it. That's good. That's pretty spicy, but it's not terribly spicy. I don't want it so spicy that I can't enjoy it too. And I think I can still enjoy this. So, and once it's cooked, once everything's been cooking for 10 minutes, it won't be quite as spicy. You know what? I have fresh corn from my garden. I'm gonna add some because I think that's gonna be really good. Now we're going to bring this to a boil and simmer it for 10 minutes. It is now night. This is an all-day event for me. Hopefully it doesn't take that long for you. So now we're going to go ahead and begin canning. I just kept my salsa on the stove. I didn't keep it hot or anything. It just kind of stayed hot. But I am reboiling and simmering it now because the key when it comes to canning is to make sure your jars are hot and the thing you're putting in it is hot so that you don't accidentally break any of the jars. This is not going to be a canning video. I'm not going to explain how to can. If you want to learn about canning, I recommend maybe getting the Ball canning book. There's a lot of great resources out there, and then obviously just follow the directions and manuals of your canner depending on what you have. A lot of people do water bath. I do steam canning, and it's my personal favorite. I'll just quickly show you how it works. So right now I have my jars just sitting on the steam canner. I'm gonna get them warmed up before I add my salsa. As you can see, this is a very shallow dish here. It uses steam to seal the jars. There is a little bit of water in there boiling. Why I like this is because it uses a whole lot less water. So it's not as heavy, which is important for my glass stovetop. And then you're just gonna place this lid on top, and I'm not worried about it getting to the correct pressure here. This is not pressure canning, this is steam canning, but it does have to come to a certain amount of pressure. I'm not worried about that right now just because I am just heating up my jars. A lot of people are nervous about canning, and I think it's just, you know, the fear of botulism, the fear of something not being sterile and getting you sick. And I understand that. And if this is uncomfortable for you, you can make the salsa and just keep it fresh in your fridge. This is a lot of salsa though to eat, so maybe consider freezing some of it. We're gonna be processing these for 15 minutes. I am at almost sea level, so I don't need to add more time. All right, we're gonna start this process here. Sealed on tightly. There should be a little air hole. There it is, do you see that? So the steam's gonna be coming out of that. I just wanna make sure that it's a nice steady stream. This here got all burned, but I can still see there's a little mark right here. I need to get, there's a dial. I need to get it so that it is right about where that mark is. Can you see it? In that dark green, or that green area. All right, so this is what I'm looking for. So you see that little dial there is right at where that black mark is. I had marked this before because that's based off what the instructions were. So it's right there. And then we have a nice steady stream of steam coming out, but it's not, the lid isn't bouncing up and down and spurting water everywhere. So now we're gonna start our processing time for 15 minutes. Timer went off, so I'm gonna lift this up, pull all the jars out, and so I'm gonna set them over here to cool, and I'm gonna do another batch. Okay, this is where I'm gonna leave you. I have a couple more batches I'm gonna do, but I'm not gonna take you long on that. I hope that you we'll try this recipe. I had my husband taste test it when he got home, and he said that the spice level was really good. So it's really nice to have our own salsa again. We've been missing this stuff. I'll put the recipe down below in the description, so in case I forgot anything, you can always access it there. God bless. Until next time.